driving through Wyoming after exiting the east entrance to Yellowstone National Park. We're going through this canyon, following this river, and there are some spectacular rock formations. Almost reminds me of Leslie Gulch. Quite a different geological area than Yellowstone that we just came out of. Fantastic. This drive out of East Yellowstone towards Cody, Wyoming is not to be missed. There's plenty of places along the way, campsites, mountain resorts, and plenty of fly fishing locations, which I think I might take up when I get home. Done it once in Canada, really enjoyed it. My dad used to do it a lot, and I have his fly pole from the 50s. So maybe it's time to get back into that now that I've got the time and no worries. So anyway, we're gonna head towards Cody and then shoot north. I've been hanging out in the Tetons and taking extra stops, and I just realized I gotta be someplace in 2 days. So I want to be sure I don't have a long ride in front of me. So this is quite rugged country, but extremely beautiful. We passed through Cody, I'll stop here another time, and made our turn off to the Chief Joseph Scenic Highway, which connects onto the Beartooth Scenic Highway on the way to the northeastern entrance to Yellowstone at Cooke City. And we started our 8,000-foot climb to the pass summit. This is a view of the highway coming up out of Cody, Wyoming on the Chief Joseph Highway going to the Dead Indian Pass, which is over 8,000 feet, leading to Cooke City in the outskirts of Yellowstone National Park. This is quite a journey. I see Kate's enjoying the view at the different scenery stop-offs that we have on this highway up to the Indian Pass. So it's quite a climb, up. I believe it's over 8,000 feet at the top of the pass. This has been quite a trip, quite a journey. Well, it's windy as heck up here. We made it to Dead Indian Pass. And I'll try to zoom in on this monument here. They could have put it a little closer, but hopefully you can freeze frame this and blow it up and read it. I can hardly read it from standing behind the gate. But this is quite a ride up here out of Cody, Wyoming. It's got a really nice little viewpoint area here. And the mountains coming up here and going down are spectacular. Let's walk over here and look over the edge. There are a few placards here talking about the Nez Perce and the Nez Perce War and their journey through these hills and canyons. And this is the road going down. You can see some vehicles down there. And I'm not sure if all those lines squiggling all over the place are the highway I'm going to be on as I head to Cooke City on the outskirts of Yellowstone. But I'm glad I made this decision to come this way and skirt the outside of Yellowstone rather than going through it again, because this is well worth it. Chief Joseph Highway. It has got to be one of the most fantastic, spectacular highways I've been on in the West, in the mountains. So, if you guys ever come to Yellowstone Tetons, I would suggest you add this highway to your journey. Standing up here, I don't know if you can hear it, but the wind is whistling through the hills. Literally whistling. I've never heard that. Not like this. And I like these ghastly, gnarled up old trees that have seen the change of time and are still here. This is fantastic and beautiful territory. On the way down the hill from the summit, we have a pull-off here for a fantastic view of Clark Canyon. This land is just amazing with all the plateaus, the canyons, the rolling meadows, the alpine hills. I almost expect to see Julie Andrews come singing over the mound somewhere. This is just beautiful. The mountaintops here are some of the oldest bedrock on Earth, dating back over 2 billion years. It sort of makes the self-importance of humans just a drip in the ocean, and makes you pause when you contemplate that all we have ever built on this planet will not outlive the mountains themselves. We're now off the Chief Joseph Highway, and we're on the Beartooth Highway heading towards Cooke City, Montana, where we'll go into Yellowstone National Park again and cross over through Lamar Valley towards Mammoth Hot Springs. But right now we're going to be looking for a place to camp for the night. But the scenery is fantastic. Once again, we find a great little BLM campground down the road where we find a nice campsite for the girls and I to relax at for the evening. We hike over the hill behind us to find a deep green valley with homesteads and a herd of horses grazing. An image of heaven, maybe? To our surprise, we see a trail sign for a nearby waterfall. We take off on the trail and I am left speechless by what I find. Well, so far today, I've gone over two 8,000-foot passes, and now I'm down here at a campground on Crazy Creek, and this trail, 5-minute trail, leads to this fantastic waterfall on the cliffs on the other side of the road. It don't get any better than this. This is why you travel. This is why you're able to boondock. This reminds me of things I've seen in Yosemite and Glacier. The next day we got up for an early start to make it to Cooke City, a small, quirky, but interesting mountain town just outside of Yellowstone with stores to explore and restaurants to eat at. There are several campgrounds in this area also, but we continued on to the northeast entrance to Yellowstone and the Lamar Valley on our way to Mammoth Hot Springs for the night. This is what people come to see in Lamar Valley. Several groups of buffalo just grazing the spring grass across the vast expanse of Yellowstone National Park. Against the backdrop of the Rockies. Looks like there might even be some young calves out there. Kate's sure keeping an eye on those buffalo, aren't you, Kate? You a buffalo dog now instead of sheepdog? Huh? Yeah, you're saying, what are them big hairy things up there? They're bigger than sheep. What do you think, Sarah? What do you guys think of that? Now we're going through a canyon here with raging whitewater. Pretty spectacular. You just got to get out and look at everything. There's so much. This is quite a drive. Wide open valleys, raging rivers through ravines. You just can't see it all driving. The force of the river coming through the mountains, down the ravines and into the lower valleys is just spectacular if you just think about it. The force of nature and how many hundreds of thousands, millions of years this river has been possibly flowing down this same channel. We have Katie, always faithful, always watching after me when I'm outside the RV walking around, always keeping track of where I'm at. Huh, girl? Well, let's jump back in and continue our ride. And here we have a buffalo crossing. And of course, we've got silly tourists out there trying to get pictures of the buffalo and their calves. This is where dumb people get hurt, all for a photo. There's several herds across the valley here in separate groups.
You want to see the eagle?
Lots of young calves.
See the one standing up? The standing buffalo just above.
What if you want to see the eagle? Yeah, the baby.
Everybody's jammed up on the highways looking at buffalo or hiking in the Lamar Valley looking for buffalo, and some of these other spectacular sights are just ignored, which is fine by me. Here we are, Undine Falls. Beautiful, just spectacular down this gorge. Let's get a little closer look, shall we? Beautiful waterfalls. Beautiful. Well, there's the town of Mammoth Hot Springs. We'll swing around here and you can see the hot springs themselves, the lower part. Once it was active back in the 70s, but because of shifting fault zones underneath, it's cut off some of the springs and those have died and dried up while others have emerged. But sad to say, it's nothing like its glory days in the 70s and before when I saw it first time. Well, we're going to go up to the Mammoth Hot Springs campsite and just see if we can get lucky, find a one-night campsite. Well, we lucked out, just popped in and got a pull-through campsite here at Mammoth Hot Springs campgrounds. And over there are some trails going up to the top of that hill, looking down into a little valley behind it. That's a bit of a hike up there. It's higher than you think because there's a fault summit you don't see from way down here. But turn around and we got ourselves a campsite just like that, without reservations or anything. So this is great. Oh, well, the masses, of course, are crammed up into Mammoth, the town of Mammoth up here in Mammoth Hot Springs. There's some areas where people are just thick as ants, and other places they just seem to totally ignore. It's really interesting. But we just pulled in here to the ranger station at the Mammoth Hot Springs campsite. Said, hey, do you have a one-night campground site? And I said, yeah, sure do. So I got a nice big 45-foot pull-in campsite here, almost where I was last year, only on the other side of the drive. But that's great. I have not had any trouble finding campsites on this entire trip through the month. So it seems everybody out there is all going to the same places because they just want to be part of a crowd, like a herd of buffalo. But that's not me. That's not how I camp. That's not how I travel. So I think I'm going to let the dogs out here, set up, and it's not even 11 o'clock yet. So we're doing good. I've been here before last year and seen the sights, so I really don't have to mingle with the crowds. We're just going to kick back here and enjoy relaxing in Mammoth before we take off tomorrow to our rendezvous at Big Timber. So the travels continue. Now I don't know if Sarah got herself tangled in the bars for the picnic table underneath there on accident, or if she's under there just to be outside and watch the ground squirrels but stay in the shade. Hard to tell. She's pretty smart. Could be either way. She remembers getting loose here last year, slipping out of her collar, chasing all the ground squirrels that are everywhere in this campground. So I had to make it a little more snug than it was last year. Not tight, but something not as loose enough to get her head through this time, because she was very determined to go chase those little ground squirrels all over the campsite. So looks like she's found a nice place to just sit in the shade and watch the ground squirrels run across the street and through the brush. Well, she's happy. I'm happy. Oh, there's nothing better to make on a hot sunny day in your travels than an orange creamy smoothie. So we got the stuff here. We'll get ourselves a little ice out of my ice maker that I have. Makes great ice cubes. It's all flexible. Makes them pretty fast in my little Dominic. So we'll get about a cup and a half here. Put those in first. Sarah's out patrolling the perimeter, keeping us safe from ground squirrels. Okay, that should do that. Then since I don't have any fresh oranges, we'll take a cup of orange juice. And about a half a cup of milk to give it that creaminess. And a package of quick orange smoothie mix. And I got my inverter on. I tell you, running on solar, I am so glad I had this done. Okay, here we go. cup out. Sometimes I pack things so well, I hide them from myself. All right, let's have some ice cold orange cream smoothie. And enough left over for another half a cup. I can always adjust it by adding more orange juice. Cheers to a great trip so far. Oh yeah, I tell you, this tastes great when it's 80 some degrees out here. Well, I hope you liked that cooking lesson. The next day we made it to Spring Creek Campgrounds and Trout Ranch along the Boulder River at Big Timber, Montana for our annual RV Club gathering to enjoy their annual Sweetgrass Festival in town with vendors, a custom car show, a parade, and a rodeo. It was topped off by a double rainbow our last evening camping. What a great end to a fantastic month-long road trip. Now to head home and make new adventure plans for the girls and I.